We are getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
She is 84 years old, a great-grandmother, a woman who relied on a pacemaker to keep her heart steady. She took medication every day just to maintain normal life. Walking wasn't easy for her. And she lived alone. That is where this story begins. But what makes this case different is not simply that Nancy disappeared. It is what investigators believe the person responsible already knew before ever approaching that house. The pacemaker, the medication routine, the fact that she lived by herself, the quiet schedule of the neighborhood, the exact time when every light on that street fades out. And these are not details someone guesses. They are details someone learns. And that is why investigators keep coming back to one word: chosen, not random, not accidental. Someone studied Nancy Guthrie's life before the night she vanished. And that realization changes everything about this investigation. Because when a person is selected like that, it means preparation happened long before anyone realized a crime was unfolding. How would someone know this much about Nancy Guthrie? Think about it seriously. The pacemaker was private medical information. Her medication routine wasn't visible from the street. The timing of when the neighborhood fell quiet required observation. That knowledge came from somewhere. Before we continue, take a second and imagine your own theory. Now, how could someone gather that level of personal detail about a person living quietly in her home? Keep that thought in your mind as we move forward. And if stories like this matter to you, stories that bring attention to real investigations, take 1 second to subscribe right now, because ignoring a story like this lets it fade. And the last thing a missing person deserves is silence. Now here is what investigators know about February 1st. Around 2 in the morning, Nancy Guthrie was home. Her street was completely dark. At some point during those hours, someone approached her house, quietly, carefully enough that no neighbor reported hearing anything unusual. And by the time morning arrived, Nancy was gone. Every news outlet asked the obvious question: who did this? But behavioral analysts started with a different question entirely. How did the person know so much? Former FBI profiler Jim Clemente focused on that immediately. Because the level of knowledge involved here suggests familiarity, not just with the neighborhood, but with Nancy herself. 3 former FBI professionals have publicly discussed this case, and each of them highlighted a different piece of the puzzle. Former FBI Special Agent Greg Rogers pushed back against early speculation that this might have been a robbery that went wrong. According to Rogers, the details do not fit opportunistic crime. Opportunistic crimes rely on chance. This situation required planning. Someone prepared before showing up that night. That distinction matters because it tells investigators the mindset involved here was deliberate. Then there is Tracy Walder, former FBI agent and former CIA officer. Walder pointed out something that many viewers may not immediately consider. Sometimes the person targeted in a crime is not the person the offender is actually focused on. Nancy Guthrie is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, a co-host of NBC's Today Show. Savannah appears on national television every morning, highly visible, surrounded by security. But someone fixated on a public figure might look for another way to send a message. Walder suggested investigators cannot ignore that possibility because a person seeking attention or retaliation might target someone connected to the individual they cannot reach directly. Nancy herself may not have been the original focus. But that is only one path investigators are considering. Former FBI profiler Jim Clemente proposed another explanation. Sometimes vulnerability becomes visible through ordinary encounters: a repair visit, a delivery, yard work, a brief moment where someone notices details about a home and its occupant. One visit could reveal limited mobility, living alone, a quiet street with little activity late at night. That type of information does not require complex research. It simply requires attention. Then there is Greg McCrary, another former FBI profiler who helped build modern behavioral analysis. McCrary believes the answer may involve both paths at the same time. According to his analysis, someone could have first noticed Nancy through ordinary proximity, a routine encounter, something completely forgettable to most people. Later, that same individual may have discovered Nancy's connection to Savannah Guthrie. In that moment, two separate motivations could merge, vulnerability and notoriety combined into a single target. That possibility sits at the center of the investigation today. Now think about the person seen on the doorbell camera the night Nancy disappeared. One detail stood out to Mary Ellen O'Toole, former director of the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit. It was not what the person did. It was how calm he appeared. Most people approaching a stranger's home at 2 a.m. would show signs of stress, nervous movement, hesitation, or looking over their shoulder. But the person captured in the footage did not appear rushed or panicked. O'Toole explained what that may indicate psychologically. When someone shows calm in a situation that should trigger fear, it often means the moment has already been mentally rehearsed many times. In their mind, they have already lived through the event before it happens. When the real moment arrives, it feels familiar instead of frightening. The type of mindset suggests patience and preparation leaves traces. Investigators are now studying every detail left behind. One item is a backpack. A 25-liter Ozark Trail backpack sold through Walmart. At first, investigators hoped the purchase could be traced, but Sheriff Chris Nanos pointed out that items like this are often resold through garage sales or online marketplaces. That means the purchase trail might not exist anymore. Another detail caught investigators' attention almost immediately. The suspect wore a ski mask and gloves, covering most of his body. That suggests awareness of forensic investigation methods. But there was one gap. His mouth area was partially uncovered. That small detail may be significant, because exposed skin can leave biological traces such as saliva, and saliva can provide DNA. DNA analysis today goes far beyond traditional databases. Even if the suspect has never been arrested before, modern investigators can sometimes identify relatives through genetic genealogy. That technique has solved decades-old cases in the past. In fact, it helped identify the individual responsible for the Golden State Killer crimes many years after those events occurred. Investigators also discovered a glove roughly 2 miles from Nancy's home. The glove contained unknown male DNA. It does not currently match any law enforcement database, but that does not mean the trail ends there. Our genealogy research can build family trees outward from distant relatives until a single individual remains at the center. There is also another possible clue. Analysts reviewing the doorbell footage believe a tattoo may briefly appear as the suspect's clothing shifts. Tattoos often provide identifying characteristics. Designs, placement, or style may connect to specific artists or locations. That analysis is still underway. Now think about the psychological side again. Mary Ellen O'Toole mentioned something that many reports overlooked. She believes the person responsible may be following media coverage closely. Some offenders monitor the public reaction to their actions. They watch how investigators and reporters describe the case. They pay attention to whether their actions receive attention. In this case, the person responsible also contacted media outlets with a ransom demand. That choice indicates a desire for visibility rather than silence. Now, consider another detail that investigators are analyzing. A reward totaling $1.2 million has been offered for information leading to an arrest. In many investigations, a reward of that size generates large numbers of tips. But in this case, the response has been quieter than expected. Former FBI agent Jim Fitzgerald discussed what that could mean. One possibility is that the individual responsible lives in extreme isolation. Few people know their routine or behavior well enough to notice changes. Another possibility is that someone close to them suspects something but feels uncertain about contacting investigators. Fear and doubt can delay important information. A third possibility is that the person responsible maintained such tight control over their actions that even those nearby did not notice any clear warning signs. Which of those possibilities seems most likely to you? Think about it carefully, because the answer reveals how you see the psychology behind this case. Now remember why this investigation began. Nancy Guthrie did not simply vanish randomly. Evidence suggests someone made a deliberate decision to approach her home that night. That decision required observation, planning, and patience. Those elements leave patterns. Patterns investigators can follow. Nancy is 84 years old. She relies on medical care. Her family has been searching for answers since February 1st. Somewhere, someone may remember a conversation, a strange behavior, or a detail that seemed unimportant at the time. But small details can change investigations, and this is where you come in. If you believe stories like this should remain visible, subscribe right now before leaving this video, because ignoring it allows the story to disappear into the endless stream of online content. If you choose not to subscribe, then head into the comments and explain why this case does not deserve attention. People reading those comments may challenge you, and that conversation keeps the case visible. If even one viewer notices something important because the video stayed active in the algorithm, that moment matters. Also, press the like button. It sounds simple, but that single click pushes the video toward more viewers. If someone refuses to like the video, tell everyone in the comments why pressing one button was too much effort while a real family waits for answers. Or share this story with someone else. If you decide not to share it, explain in the comments why you think awareness should stop here instead of reaching another potential witness. And finally, subscribe with notifications on. If you decide not to subscribe, tell viewers in the comments why you would rather miss updates about the investigation than stay informed. Because every viewer who participates in the discussion keeps Nancy Guthrie's name circulating instead of fading away. The investigation continues. Analysts are building timelines, reviewing footage, examining DNA evidence, following every lead that might connect back to the person who approached that quiet home in the early hours of February 1st. Someone out there knows something. And when that missing detail surfaces, this entire case may change in an instant. Until that moment comes, the search continues. And Nancy Guthrie's story deserves to stay in the light.